session. We have Dawn and Jimmie Bates, and we have Michael and Christina Gilchrist, and we have Laurel Lemke. All three have been some part of Kidney Stories Toastmasters as well. Dawn was a member before, and then we have Laurel, who is a member of Kidney Stories Toastmasters recently. And Michael Gilchrist also has been a member before and an affiliate of our Toastmasters Club. Our panel moderator for this session is Leesa Thompson, who founded our Toastmasters Club and a past president of Kidney Stories Toastmasters. Let's welcome our panelists, and I will let Leesa lead this session.
So will you be giving the introductions before we start?
Yeah, sure. Let me just spotlight all of them, make sure that you can see all of them. So we have our first panelist
Laurel needs to be spotlighted, is she?
She is spotlighted.
Okay, so then maybe I'm not spotlighted.
I'll come to you. So our first panelist is Michael and Christina Gilchrist. Christina has been suffering from kidney disease since the age of 12 with a lot of complications throughout her life during her pregnancy, where she had seizures. And she has 2 failed kidney transplants and has been 5.5 years in-center dialysis doing in-center, and then with 3 years peritoneal dialysis and 3+ years on home hemodialysis. Michael is her care partner. He's an engineer, and he's not just that, he's Christina's care partner, husband, and his main job, as he says, is to just make Christina laugh. Isn't that great? And he helps administer her home hemodialysis due to Christina's eyesight, because she's legally blind. And they have done dialysis camping everywhere using a generator at numerous places all over the country. And this is their motto: don't tell me I can't, show me how I can. Let's welcome Michael and Christina Gilchrist.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next panelist is Dawn&Jimmie Bates. This is another love story, everyone. Jimmie began his end-stage renal disease journey in May 2008 when he was forced to start dialysis suddenly because of uncontrolled hypertension. He was doing in-center dialysis, and that's when Dawn&Jimmie kind of reconnected, having been childhood sweethearts after 25 years, and now they are together, as you can see. They are married now, and they began training for home hemodialysis and have never looked back. Jimmie received a transplant in 2012, and he had an amazing year, and then there were failures, and right now he is on dialysis with Dawn taking care of him. I don't want to give too much information because I think the panel, when they do the discussion, they will let you know about what they are doing. They travel extensively, though, in their RV. They go to dialysis centers everywhere. And they're also advocates demonstrating live HHD and inviting patients to check their setup out. Let's welcome Dawn&Jimmie Bates. Our third panelist is Laurel Lemke. She has been a Toastmaster for 20 years. And for some of you who joined lately, Toastmasters is an organization which is all about public speaking and enhancing your soft skills. But Dawn also has kidney disease right now. And she believes it's because of a psychiatric medication that she was taking. She started home hemodialysis training in 2023 of April, after lobbying on a state level for her insurance provider to offer this particular option. She does in-center dialysis while she's also active on the transplants list, but Laurel has managed to travel and cruise while setting up dialysis sessions. She is active with the Renal Support Network, and she joined our club this year. The panel moderator for this session is Leesa Thompson. I'm sure most of you know her. She started a kidney support group called Kidney Stories. You will find the Facebook group in our brochure. And Her journey with kidney disease began at the age of 18 when she was diagnosed with acute pyelonephritis, a condition she managed for 40 years before developing end-stage renal disease. In 2008, she experienced a significant health challenge that required inpatient dialysis for 10 days due to taking Advil. Despite these challenges, Leesa's resilience led her to receive a kidney preemptively in 2018 through a remarkable chain of donations facilitated by the National Kidney Registry. This chain provided kidneys for 4 people, including Leesa. Now, till today, she remains in touch with her donor, Kerry, and her swap donor, Ed, who gave his kidney on her behalf. And she's also founded Kidney Stories Toastmasters, which is hosting this session today. And she has been a president for 2 years, and she's our past president now. Let's welcome all these wonderful panel moderators and the panelists for this session to learn about how to do dialysis when you're traveling. On to you, Leesa.
Thank you so much, Shobha. I really appreciate you taking care of the introductions, and welcome everyone. So before we get started, I'd like to hear from Michael and Christine as to who you are and what traveling you've done while on dialysis.
Go ahead.
Well, we have actually done a lot of traveling. We're really new to being advocates. We've only been doing this just over 2 years, but we have now been to Capitol Hill a few times. How many would you say?
About half a dozen times. We've been to California a couple of times. We've done road trips all over Arizona, Vegas, California.
And we have our own property here in Utah where we don't have power. So we do dialysis up there using his genius.
Either solar power run by batteries or generator when we need a little bit of additional power.
Yeah.
And then in 2 weeks, we're actually traveling to Puerto Rico. So we've had some difficulties doing that, but we've got it all figured out.
Well, that's great. I'm happy to hear that it's not slowing you down and
Nope.
that you've been advocating for the cause. So next, we'd like to hear from Dawn and Jimmie about who you are and the traveling you're doing.
Well, we are Dawn&Jimmie Bates and currently in Iowa. That's our home state, but we are very rarely here. We spend a minimum of 6 months traveling around in our RV. Spend a lot of time down in Florida for the winter, but in September, we're going to be heading west for the first time and going through Colorado. We're going to go to Utah and hang out with Michael and Christina. We're going to go to Idaho, Montana, Washington State, and then back down to Arizona before we head to Florida. So we're very passionate about showing people that they can do this. You know, we do home hemo. We've been doing home hemo since 2008, and then right after Jimmie's transplant failed. And we knew we would go right back to it. It has given us such an amazing quality of life. And that's what it's really all about for us and for Jimmie, is to give him the best quality of life he can have.
Jimmie, would you like to say anything?
I just want to say hi to Michael and Christina. I miss them. We see them every once in a while.
We're going to hang out with them next
nice.
week.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. That's awesome.
And you got to be careful. If you get Jimmie talking, he doesn't stop.
It's true.
So,
So I've been trying to get Jimmie to talk for a couple of years. I think this might be the first time I've heard him. So hopefully he'll be talking more today. And
Yeah.
Laurel is in Washington. So when you're all out in Washington, it would be good to talk to Laurel.
Yes.
Awesome.
And
I got to see
Laurel,
Michael.
can
And
you introduce yourself?
yeah, I'm Laurel Lemke. I live in Lakewood, Washington, which is south of Seattle. And I have had the opportunity, I've been on dialysis for about 1.5 years now, and I've planned different trips out. I'm about to leave tonight to go to Boston, and I'll be on Cape Cod for a week and then speaking at a conference in Philadelphia. So my training has been, my travel has mainly been around seeing friends and or going to conferences. So
Well, that's fabulous, Laurel. Thank you. So I have a couple of prepared questions and then I'll be asking you follow-up questions after you've answered the prepared question. And we've got about an hour to do this program, and then there's a break. So thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate our panelists as well as our audience. So the first question I'll start with is, I'll start this time with Dawn, and you'll all get a chance to answer this same question. So we're going to talk about travel preparation. What specific steps do you take to prepare for travel while managing dialysis treatments? Can you share any tips or resources that have been particularly helpful in ensuring a smooth and safe journey? And if anyone is unmuted, if someone could mute them, I'd appreciate it.
Well, I will tell you that number one, you have to have a list. Okay, you have to have a list, because we have had times in the past that we did not have a list and forgot things. And thank God we are well connected with many people in the community, because no matter where we are, we can make a phone call and say, hey, I need, and it shows up. So with that, we are very, very supported. But making sure that we have our travel orders put in plenty of time. We're going to Boston next week. And so I put my travel order in probably a month and a half, 2 months ago. So supplies would be delivered to the hotel before we get there. And then I will call them the day before we go to double check. Making sure that we have, that list is so important, because then, making sure you have all of your ancillary supplies, making sure that you have your prescription with you, because what if you're traveling and all of a sudden the machine stops working and you have to do a swap? That happens. And we've been out on the road where we've had to swap a machine. It's not a big deal. We get a new machine within 24 hours, wherever we are. It doesn't matter. But you have to have your prescription to know how to calibrate the machine. So it's old school for us because we've been doing it for so many years, but making sure that all of our ducks are in a row, that we check off our list, we double check that list. Jimmie triple checks that list so we don't forget anything. Making sure we have contact information, making sure that we know where the nearest home program is to where we're going to be, and the nearest emergency room, just in case. We have never had to use it, but it's so important to know that as a backup, Did I forget anything?
It sounds like that list would look like a binder.
Oh, no, not necessarily.
It's not that.
No, Michael's got a really good list, and it's one sheet, and he checks it off, she checks it off, and they check it off. They've got a really good list.
Jimmie was going to say something.
No.
Come on, dude.
So
I'm
Jimmie,
trying,
She
Leesa.
covered
Jimmie
it all.
gets
She
the
covered it all.
treatment, and Dawn does the list, right?
Well, we have the list and then we both go over it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. But he does most of the treatment. The only thing I have to do is the cannulation.
Yep.
Because of the position of his fistula.
It's under here. It's tricky to get to.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be
Mhm.
great. Laurel, same question. I can read it again. What specific steps do you take to prepare for travel while managing dialysis treatments? And can you share any tips or resources that have been particularly helpful in ensuring a smooth and safe journey?
Okay, so I need to plan out when I'm going to be going. I often plan to travel. My regular treatments are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I try to travel on a Saturday or a Sunday. So it's a non-dialysis day. And I fill out a form I happen to be with Fresenius, and I fill out a form that I have to say the address where I'm going to be staying at, my preference for days that I'll be going. And the one thing about it is when you fill out the form, you not necessarily get the location that's closest to where you're staying. You may not necessarily get the days you want. For me, the biggest thing is when I'm traveling and I'm speaking at a conference, I can't do the dialysis the day of the conference. And sometimes I get treatments that are real early in the morning. I also I like them. I have to have my medications, and I also have my to-go bag, which I maybe take a few less things from the to-go bag. I bring a blanket and I bring headset, things that I need to have during treatment. There's a lot of paperwork that needs to be done ahead of time. To tell you the truth, my trip that I'm going on tomorrow, we just got everything nailed down yesterday afternoon, which was a little bit too close for comfort. And then I'm speaking in Philadelphia and we still don't have that nailed down, but I'm hopeful for that. I also, for transportation, because it really takes a lot out of me when I'm on this type of dialysis. So I use Uber a lot. And I've had friends that have gifted me Uber credit, which has been very nice. I also, if I've got a rental car, if I'm going someplace with a rental car, I'll plan to stay in the area for an hour or two, have breakfast or something, and just, rest before I travel. So packing, filling out the information. And yeah, so what I did yesterday is I followed up. What happened is I followed up yesterday and they had the wrong week. They didn't think I was coming for a week. So it's double checking. And and the other thing that is interesting to know is that if you are with Fresenius, you might end up going to DeVita, and I'm going to a totally different clinic when I'm in Cape Cod next week. I also like to bring a gift to the dialysis folks. So like I happen to be from Tacoma where they make almond roca. So I usually buy some almond roca to bring it. The other thing is the reason I'm not on home hemo is that my access is very difficult to find. And so I do have a picture that was done I have a photo of my graph. So I bring it with me so I can show it to the people that I'm going to be with.
Yeah. Upstairs, the back.
I'm sorry, Shobha, can you make sure everyone's muted, please?
Yeah.
So anyway, so it takes, it's not, it's not the best, but it's what I do.
Thank you so much, Laurel. It sounds like it's working out, and fortunately it is, because that way you can participate in all the activities with the conferences and with trainings all over the country. Both of you have indicated that you're staying mostly inside the country. Is that correct?
I've been inside the country except for going on a cruise.
And did maybe we should wait and then come back to the cruising afterwards? Yeah. Okay. So Michael and Christine, same question. What specific steps do you take to prepare for travel while managing dialysis treatments? And can you please share any tips or resources that have been particularly helpful in ensuring a smooth and safe journey?
Yeah, sure. So definitely the list is so important, which I have to admit that I have never helped pack up.
No, she packs the day of. I pack starting right now. I have my list. As I have it on the counter, I check it off. And then as Christina would double check that list. And then as I'm putting it in the bag, I actually check it off. But the cool thing is too, and Dawn knows this, that if you do have problems traveling, you can reach out. I know you can reach out to Dawn, you can reach out to me, and we can put you in resources that, because dialysis is hard, but there's always a solution to any problem that you usually run into. Like one of those is we do dialysis pretty much right up to the second we're going to leave to the airport.
Yep, we want to make sure I have full treatment. Yeah,
it's about an hour before so I can pack the machine up, but we want her to have the full treatment. That way, if something happens, we get delayed, she can go maybe 3 days and then get dialysis.
And what's really cool is I do nocturnal. So when we travel, we literally have our days free to do whatever we want. So we just do dialysis at night.
Mm-hmm. And like Dawn was saying, where you call and make sure that your stuff has been delivered. One thing, and I think I got this advice from Dawn, is have them send you a picture. Yep. And if they don't, sometimes they're a little difficult, at least get their name. There's been one time when we were in DC and they had no idea where our boxes were, but I knew who the lady I talked to, and I said, no, this is the lady that said where this stuff is, and they ended up putting it somewhere else, but that was all fixed.
We also, we make sure anytime we travel, we have a doctor's note with us. We have our prescription, like Dawn was saying, and we have a service animal, so we have to have his paperwork, and we make sure we never get to the airport under 2 hours, ever. And if we can get there with 3 hours to spare, that's what we do, because we want the time to make sure we don't have to rush and go crazy.
We always plan on having breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or whatever at the airport. Sort of pricey, but we can just sit, relax, and we know everything's been checked in. Also, I have the FDA paperwork printed out, and I actually have it laminated in my bag, because no matter what, anytime you pull up with a dialysis machine, they are not going to know what you're talking about. So you can pull that out and say, hey, this is what's happening, and usually it goes smooth 99% of the time. But that one time that it doesn't, you're going to regret that you didn't get there in 3 hours, and you can sit and relax, have coffee, donuts, whatever. But we've cut it pretty close sometimes.
We like to say too, always make soft plans, because when you're flying, say if your machine doesn't make it on your plane, you've got to wait a few hours to get the machine. So you might have to wait at the airport. So don't make plans that are set that you have to be to the day you're flying. Just kind of allow that whole day to be just travel.
That's great advice. Thank you. Yeah, I know sometimes people will plan dinner immediately after getting off that plane. And if you don't make that plane, there goes dinner. So yeah, it's really helpful to have that whole day as a travel day. And I've got a good backup question for the two of you, and I think I have one for Dawn as well. So let's move on to the next question. And bear with me a moment. There we go. Okay. So yeah, this is what we wanted to get to with the cruising. And this is about access to dialysis abroad. And how do you find and arrange dialysis treatments in your travel destination? Are there any challenges you've encountered with accessing dialysis services abroad, and how did you overcome them? So I'm going to start this time with Laurel. We know that you cruise, and then we'll go to the other two.
Yes, well, when I cruised, I actually went to Alaska and Canada, so it wasn't really that far off, but the dialysis was actually on board. They have technicians there and a doctor and nurses. So the dialysis was done on board and was an added fee to this. I know I have friends that have timeshares and in Mexico, and I'm interested. The one thing I haven't pursued it though is because I think my insurance is limited to the United States. So that's something I haven't found. Actually, when I did my dialysis at sea, I paid for each of those treatments. It wasn't by insurance, but so that is something I haven't explored yet, but I think the insurance is the biggest issue.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Canada's covered, but
Well,
and Puerto Rico would be covered too, right? It's the
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah. Well, Canada, I wasn't, I was on the boat, so it was on the boat where they had all the dialysis. I didn't go off. The one thing I can say is that if you go on a cruise, if you have a chance to get an early morning treatment, that would be better. My treatments were in the afternoon, and it meant that there were 2 ports of call that I didn't get off because I was having treatment while that was happening.
No, that's a shame. So late at night would probably also be a better time if you can get that last treatment in the day and get off the ship right away.
Yeah.
So, and does the cruising at sea do Europe and other abroad ports?
Well, I have seen the company I use is Dialysis at Sea, and
Right.
they do have trips that are in Europe. And part of it is not every boat has, and right now there was just 1 or 2 cruise lines that they were using, but I have explored, and there's some other cruise lines that are European based that that can be used.
Yeah, that would help you to see more of the world again and get to more of these conferences in different places. Christine, have you been out of the country at all?
So we have not, but we are going to Puerto Rico, and that kind of threw us for a bit of a loop because they don't pay for the shipping to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's considered international shipping. And this actually applies to anywhere you're going. Always call where you're going to be staying and see if they charge you for shipping. Now, it was actually our dialysis company that told us it's going to cost over $1,500 to ship your supplies. And so what we're doing is, instead of having it shipped there, we have back stock, so we're going to take our stock. But we are taking
10 boxes?
12 boxes, and we're going to check them. And the cool thing
we
is,
already talked to the airport, so
Yep.
they know we're coming with these extra packages, and they will fly for free.
yeah, all medical flies for free. So if they ever try to charge you, say no. And that's why I have that FDA paperwork, because they cannot charge you for medical. If you do show up with a bunch of bags, I do suggest calling, arranging. And on this one, we're gonna actually get there about 3.5 hours early, just because we have so many boxes to do. And then what else?
And let me think. Also, like one time we traveled to Vegas, and we were actually traveling to a casino, and we were not told ahead of time that the actual casino charged per box. And it was like a $25 fee per box. And so that's something also we learned when you are traveling, no matter if your company's paying for the shipping or not, call where you're staying and ask them if they have a charge for those. And if they do, then what you need to do is call the closest dialysis center, have them shipped there, and you'll just go and pick them up and take them to your hotel yourself.
Yeah.
They seem to love adding these hidden charges, whether it's on the ship for water. The bottled water on the ship is astronomically expensive. And, even if it's medical, the ship is tough. And then they find every which way to charge you extra. What about charging for your service, Doug?
He's considered medical, so he's not allowed to be charged either. We do have paperwork. We actually fly with a certain airline because it's been easiest. We've flown pretty much all of them, and we have one that we like in particular. And there's paperwork that you have to submit with them, and it lasts like 3 years. So I always have that with us, and you have to be up on shots and all that typical stuff. But fine with a service dog, as long as it is a signed off service dog, then they really can't do anything. And he actually gets a bag checked for free as well, because it's considered medical.
Well, it's wonderful that you found all these great ways to work this out. Oh, and he's so sweet.
I know, right? He's so cute.
He's a husky?
He's actually a Pomsky, so he's a Pomeranian Husky. He's only 22 pounds.
Wow, that's awesome. So he's got the husky spirit with a smaller stature.
You got it. He's pocket-sized husky.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I used to have a husky for a number of years, and oh my God, she was great. But traveling with her, no. She loved the car, but I wouldn't try doing a whole lot more. And putting her on all those buses and planes, yeah, I don't think she would have done it.
We like to joke and say how Moose does better on a plane than I do, because I get super anxious, but Moose, he's a champ.
Oh, that's great.
He just tucks up underneath the chair, and he was made for flying.
Good. I'm glad that works out. That's so important. And Dawn and Jimmie, the same question. How do you find and arrange dialysis treatments in your travel destinations, especially abroad, and challenges that you've encountered? And I want to hear more. I want our audience to hear more about your van. Your van is so cool. Did you bring a picture to share with us?
Actually, we just bought a new one. We just got a brand new.
I knew that. That's great.
Yeah, we got a brand new fifth wheel, and it is currently being wrapped with the Fresenius Next Stage logo, because we are advocates for them, and so they're paying for that. but yeah, we have not traveled abroad, but it's our first trip out was 2 weeks long. We went to Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and fell in love with what we were doing. And then our next trip was 3 months long, and we spent this last winter down south, and we were literally gone for 6 months. And so we were down in Florida. We went to like 32 different clinics, talking to patients. When I tell you that we seriously, everywhere we go, we have a friend, I seriously mean that. It's like, we're in this area. Hey, such and such is here. Let's call them, or let's get together and have lunch. There's a couple that came to Iowa, to our town, because she went to college there and her husband is a home hemo patient. And then when we were in Florida, we connected with them. So we are so passionate. And I know, I appreciate what Dr. Powell said about transplant, and that is the number one thing that Medicare wants people to do. Well, there are people out there that number one can't, but then there's also people who don't want to, and I get that. Just my husband has been transplanted. He was offered a second transplant, and he turned it down. It was a match, but it wasn't a great match. But his whole philosophy is what? What's your philosophy?
I feel good doing what I'm doing. Why would I, I love what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to 30 states in the last 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been pretty fun.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. And we love it. We just love connecting with other people and sharing our story. I mean, if you sit still long enough, you're going to know our story. We don't care who you are.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that it's working out well. I met you about 2.5 years ago. You had probably just started this.
Yes.
And I've been following you ever since, and it seems like there's always a win-win situation, no matter what it is that you're doing, with the motorcycle rallies and all the great places you've been and the people you've met. It's really exciting. So,
well, and I want people to understand too that, we're not just out advocating. Last weekend we were in Milwaukee at Harley Davidson's homecoming for 3 days, and we got to see Jelly Roll, and we got to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and we went to the motorcycle museum, and it was so cool. And next weekend we're going to be in Boston. We're going whale watching with Michael and Christina, so we're excited about that. This weekend, we're actually, when we're done here, we've got a family reunion a couple blocks down the road, that we're doing. So it's living our lives and spending time with our 14 grandbabies and
we've
our
actually
kids.
got another one on the way.
Yeah, we just found out this week we have a new grandbaby on the way.
Congratulations, that's exciting.
So
that's wonderful. Yeah, I've been on that whale watching. Make sure to stay out of the cabin. You do not want to be in the cabin. You want to be where you can see the horizon and the whales.
Yes.
So,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this time
it's
of
like,
the
when
year
do you ever get a
perfect.
chance to do that,
Mm-hmm.
And bring Ginger with you. Ginger.
Really?
Yeah. People are getting nauseous on these trips for some reason. They hit a wave and they go flying, but you want to make sure that you're that you're stable, you're well situated on the deck, and that you've got a great view, and then it will be a real pleasure.
Awesome.
It'll be
Thank
fun.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It'll be really fun to see how Moose does on the boat. Believe it or not, we've taken him on boats before, and he's a champ on them too.
That's awesome.
And they go out right near the
will.
aquarium, and if you have a chance, go through the aquarium while you're there. Just beautiful. And I think Moose will love the aquarium too.
Yeah, we went there actually last year when we went to Boston. It's wonderful. And again, these are things that I would have never been able to do had we not slowly worked the system. And yes, in the beginning, this was hard, but each time your travel truly gets easier and easier, and you just get better and better.
It does. It's just like, anything you do, you weren't born knowing how to drive a car, but the more you did it, the better you got.
Yep.
Same thing with home dialysis, same thing with travels, anything.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful that you've worked it out and that you're able to continue living your best life in spite of needing to be on dialysis. So
Yeah.
we've got another question, and that one is balancing enjoyment and health. So that's what we were just talking about. And the question is, traveling can be both exciting and demanding. How do you balance enjoying your trip while also staying on top of your dialysis schedule and health needs? Do you have any advice for others who might be hesitant to travel due to their dialysis requirements? And we'll start with Dean and Michael.
There you go.
So I think one thing that we have that we're lucky is our schedule is not set. If we get there and we go a day, maybe a day and a half without doing dialysis, that's fine for us. So we can shift our schedule a little bit because we have the machine with us.
The other thing too is make soft plans. You know, we are looking extremely forward to whale watching and stuff like that, but Dawn and Jimmie are going to totally understand. If she's not feeling up to it, then it's a soft plan. Now, we will be there because we're excited to do it.
Yeah.
But always make soft plans. And even when, like, you're going to Disneyland and you got entire family saying you want to do this, and this, you're like, give us the agenda. If we can make some of those, we will. But I'm not guaranteeing anything, you know?
Also, I think there is a balance to traveling and maintaining your health at the same time. And so you want to make this as less stress as possible. So again, plan extra time, plan ahead with things, and don't try to rush anywhere. Take your time when you're traveling.
And also, when you're traveling, sometimes you're traveling just for medical. I always, no matter what, will throw something fun in, and I make sure I do that. Kind of like with this whale watching. No matter where I go, I'm going to make sure that we have at least one huge experience that we can come back from. So,
well, that's awesome. I try to do that as well when I'm cruising and traveling all over, that I want to make sure if I'm tired, I rest. And even if I miss a port or I miss a super fun experience, my rest has to come first. So,
yeah, same with listening to your body. Because if you're getting tired, if she pushes herself too hard, the next day she's out and you can pretty much cancel everything. So as long as you listen to your body, you take it easy, and do that day by day, you usually won't have an issue.
And that's a really hard one to do because I like to push through anything. That's just who I am. And so I have to rein myself back when I'm traveling. And I have to say, listen, you can whale watch next year.
Exactly. So we're going to move to Laurel. And Laurel, have you been whale watching in the bays and the oceans surrounding Seattle?
I've whale watched in Oregon and in Washington State. Yeah, I love that. One of the things is to be flexible, and I'm going to be staying with family, and one of the things that's really good is to share with them what your needs are. And I'm seeing 2 different cousins this week, and the last time I was there, I was pre-dialysis, and so I was not eating much in the way of protein. And then my cousin was asking me, what do you want to drink? And I said, I don't drink very much right now. I just, drink 4 cups a day. That's all I can drink. So sharing that, I think being flexible is pretty important. Another thing I do is I always pack protein bars with me so that, if I need a snack or something, I have something that's good to eat. And also part of what I do, like I said, I do kind of compromise. Like when I was on that cruise, the one place I hadn't been to before was Juneau, so I didn't get to Juneau, but I was okay because I've been to Victoria several times, but realizing I may not be able to do everything, but being happy with what I can do. And again, the other thing is, having Uber available to myself and just being organized. The other thing I do in my life regularly is I just do trips, do day trips. I like to do day trips. And I also plan during my week that my Tuesday and Thursday nights are special nights. So I often do something like a art bus trip or something on a Thursday night.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to manage it. So you're working around your dialysis days in order to plan the nights that you're going to feel best.
Yeah.
And then if you do have more than you are supposed to, you'll get dialyzed the next day and be able to get that fluid off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. That's a good way to do it. And I was surprised when Kathy was talking about the increased need for protein. I wasn't aware of that. So the protein bars sound like they work out perfectly. That's great. And then Dawn&Jimmie, same question. How do you balance enjoying your trip while also staying on top of your dialysis schedule and health needs? And any advice?
Well, I really want to piggyback off of what Christina said about, the soft plans, making sure, Jimmie's health has to come first. If he's having issues with his access, we need to go to an access center. Okay. We need to get a referral. We need to communicate with the doctor, and we need to have him looked at, maybe have an angioplasty done ASAP, because that's his lifeline. But on top of that, I'm going to go a little the other way. As his care partner, I have to take care of me. So we were actually supposed to be in New York this summer in June, and we had to cancel a trip because I was a hot mess. All right, my arthritis flared, my neck locked, and so it's like high doses of prednisone and and muscle relaxers and all the things, and physical therapy. So I had to take care of me, because if I don't take care of me, I can't help take care of him. So, it's that partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
But
lot of juggling pieces.
it is. And I am just like them. I will truly push myself. No matter how bad I'm feeling, I will push myself.
And then she's down the next.
Right. I am. And so he's like, no. So, between the two of us, I think we have a good balance. But yeah, I mean, he has to take care of his access. I have to take care of me, so we can take care of each other, And so if we have to cancel some things, so be it. That's how it is.
And I think we're all getting older, and except for Christine, you look like you're a kid. But the rest of us are all getting older. And it just seems like anyone that you talk to, whether no matter what they have, has the same sort of balancing needs. And it's just part of life and getting older, and so that's important.
See, I want to kind of hop on what Dawn said, where take care of yourself, but also relay what your medical conditions are, because sometimes where you're going or who you're seeing, they don't really understand what you're going through. Now, Dawn&Jimmie, they know exactly what Christina is going through. So if, God forbid, you have to cancel, there isn't going to be any problems with that. Same with if they had to cancel. It's not a big deal. And when Dawn was saying, make sure you take care of yourself, usually we're traveling for work or her medical, and I have to take time off work. So that's one of the reasons why I make sure we plan something away from medical that's just fun, like the whale watching, because I want it to be an experience as well. So that's kind of my
added thing.
Yeah. So,
and I love that. I do. I love that, because I think that it's so easy as advocates. I think it's so easy to get sucked into, this is what we do and we do it every day. And especially when we're doing RV tours, but taking that time and doing Harley Davidson's homecoming and doing family reunions and doing whale watching and, dinner with the kids and, family fun. Once a month we do family fun day with my kids and their partners. And you know what? This last month we went to a panic room, an escape room, and it was awesome. I never did it. It was awesome. Making those memories.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. I've done those panic escape rooms, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So that's great that you get to do that. So Laurel, what I would like you to do, if you're willing, is to ask one question to Christine.
Okay, so Christine, what is the best part of having your dog?
Well, the best part is I don't fall on my face anymore. I have no depth perception, and so stairs, I can't see them at all. And so I would just walk right off the set of stairs. So that's a good part, but the best part is he truly is my little best friend. I love him. I love that I get to take him everywhere with me. And it's just incredible.
And I'll say, instead of one diva that I'm packing around, I'm packing 2 divas around now. So
Great answer.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And Christine and Michael, one question that you have for Dawn&Jimmie.
oh, we almost feel like
Oh
your
my-
family. We know you.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
You guys are just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, these people, they were icons to us before we even met them. And Dawn&Jimmie inspired us to be out traveling, because when we entered this community, I crashed into dialysis right next to her. And she wanted to keep doing all the fun stuff. And there was no way we weren't going to keep having fun. And
And that's what Dawn&Jimmie do.
I will credit Dawn&Jimmie for one, helping keep Christina alive. Because if we didn't get her out traveling, if we didn't give her the reason to live, she wouldn't be here. And 2, they're just freaking awesome. I mean, you see the fun stuff that they're doing, motorcycle rallies, going to concerts. I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with them. So,
Michael, what's your question for them?
I would say, where's the next place you're traveling to that you're most excited about?
That's a great question.
Oh, I'm going to say Colorado, over to the West Coast.
We haven't been.
We've never been to the West Coast. I mean, we have our little map is filled with the East Coast, but like nothing beyond, I mean, Colorado on over, nothing. So we are very excited about going to the West Coast.
Looking forward to hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Always.
The whole time.
Yes.
we can't wait to get you on some ATVs up at the property.
Yes,
So.
and I'm driving.
sounds fun.
Excited.
It'd be great if you guys could get up to Alaska while you're out there, Dawn.
That would be so awesome.
Right? Get a cruise. Find out from Laurel which cruise to take and go for it. It's beautiful.
Not a bad idea.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd say go for it, Jimmie. I could help you guys out with the itinerary. It's amazing. I was just out there for 2 weeks in June and absolutely incredible. So if you could get on a ship out there that does dialysis at sea, you'd be all set. Or just bring your boxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have everything delivered and you'll be all set. You don't want to land in the sea, you just want to be on sea. Land makes it more complicated, I think.
Right.
So, yeah, with a lot of great ports. And Dawn, your question for Laurel?
I would have to ask Laurel, what is one of the most difficult parts about traveling and being an in-center patient?
I think one of the things is you don't know the clinic, and partly with me because I've got a difficult access, so I usually ask to have the person, ask to make sure I've got an experienced technician who's able to do it. And also when you go, there's a lot of paperwork to sign. Another thing I do is if I'm going and I'm going to be having a rental car, I usually go the night before. I do a dry run to make sure I find the clinic. And I've also found out that, I would want to have a coffee before I went, but when I'm going at 6 a.m, there's no place to get coffee.
Right.
So the last question that I have for each of you is a wrap-up takeaway kind of question. What you want our audience to be able to think about and consider in doing their own living of life in the best way. And Laurel, you could start.
Well, I just think it's just being open to opportunities. And I think the biggest thing is being involved in support groups, being with other people, learning from them. Last night, when I said to the clinic, I'm not going to be here for 2 weeks, the man next to me was very surprised. And he's a business owner who's on dialysis, and he had no idea he could travel. And so I think he just didn't know. And I explained to him, but that's helpful.
That's great. And is he thinking of doing it now that you've explained it to him?
I think he may. Yeah, I think he may, but he just it's partly you have to kind of explore and advocate for yourself to do things.
Great. Thank you, Laurel. And Dawn and Jimmie, the same question.
I would say the number one goal for anybody that is on dialysis, I don't care what modality you're using, is to have the best quality of life. Just do it, and it's going to be scary. It is. It's going to be scary because you've never done it. But once you do it, once you experience, once you get all of the cobwebs all worked out, you're going to have great experiences. You're going to make awesome memories, and it is going to empower you to have the best quality of life possible.
And we've made some great friends.
Yes, lifelong friends.
I'm sure you guys are inspiring people all over the country to do
I
what
hope so.
you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you, Leesa, I got a message from a friend of mine who we were in Weight Watchers together a couple years ago, and she messaged me and said that she had been to South Carolina, and it was her birthday, and her husband was going to have this chef make this special cheesecake, and she wanted to meet the chef, and it just so happened to be a friend of ours who is also a dialysis patient, now transplanted. And she says, I met your friend Ricky. I'm like, oh my God.
That's great.
I mean, who would have guessed?
Yeah, such a small world. That's funny.
Very small world.
Yeah.
And same question, Michael and Christine.
So I would like to just say life is short. You don't need to live to do dialysis. Do dialysis to live. And sometimes that's a little frightening, but you can do this.
Also think outside of the box. Not every place you're going is going to be an ideal situation. Okay. You can make dialysis safe everywhere. And sometimes
it takes a little work.
Yep. We've done it in the mountains. We've done it in an RV. We've done it on the side of the road. We've even done it on the back of a motorcycle. There are ways to do all of this and be safe. So
you're doing PD, and you do it for like what, a half an hour at a time, so you can do it any place?
She used to do PD, and that's where we did it, on the side of the road in the back of the motorcycle.
Right.
Home hemo, that's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
So we've done that up on our property and traveling, but we do what we do.
Yeah.
Great. And Michael, can you please tell us how to find you? All the ways we can find you.
The easiest way is just hashtag Blind Chick Living. You will find pretty much videos all over the place about Christina, or on Facebook, Living on Dialysis, or Blind Chick Living.
And also, like Dawn was saying, get a support group. Start talking to other people, because you share ideas and you'll learn things from them that you didn't even think of.
Biggest thing is you feel alone, and you're not. There's going to be hundreds of people that are going through the same thing as you.
We had a situation, even it was a little over a year ago, that there was a fellow dialysis patient, and she was traveling. She was in Florida on vacation, and she did not get cartridges for her treatment. She made a post, and guess what? We were like, everybody was out. Hey, we need these cartridges. We need them here. I got a hold of area managers. Guess what? She got her cartridges within an hour. She got her cartridges, because that's how the community works.
Wow. Faster than Amazon. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Dawn, how do we find you and Jimmie?
Well, we are on Facebook under Dawn Smith Bates, also on TikTok under Care Partner for Life. also on Instagram, also on LinkedIn. We're everywhere. I post pictures and I try and put them I try to put them in the kidney stories page as much as I can. I dropped off the face of the earth for a couple of months while I was mending, but I'm back. So
Well, we're happy you're back. And I
thank
do
you.
follow you everywhere possible. I love your TikTok posts. Those are
Thank you.
incredible, and I often share them when you're not sharing them on my site. So thank you so much. I appreciate both of you, all of you. This has been amazing. Laurel, where do we find you?
I can put an email down there for people. And I'm a speaker for Washington Speaks. So people who in Washington State want me to come and talk, they can get that done.
Great, Laurel. Well, thank you all. I've had so much fun doing this panel, and I hope that our audience appreciates all the fantastic information that you've all given. I'm glad to say this was recorded, and we will be able to get that recording up on YouTube, and you'll all be able to share it everywhere. So thank you all. It's 12:30 and 12:31, and we're doing great on time. So thank you all for being here, and back to you, Shobha.
Thank you, Leesa. That was such a wonderful session. And I have to say, you all have been inspiring. Just listening to you guys telling how to live life. That's what we need. It's not about, like in my book, as I say, I am not my disease. So we don't let the disease define us in any form or shape. And thank you so much for doing that today. With that, we will go for a break for half an hour. People in the East Coast, if you're in the East Coast, it's time to go grab some quick lunch. People in the West Coast, just like me, I'm right now going to have my breakfast. And in between, wherever you are, please feel free to snack away. And we will be back in exactly half an hour. You don't want to miss the second session, because again, it's we have one session where we are going to be talking about mental health, which is very important for all of us right now. And after mental health session by a therapist, we have another panel discussion, which is talking about home dialysis. All of us want to know how to do it at home in a better shape. And after that, the last session will be all about resources. Bobby Reed, who is a kidney advocate, she is so well connected